Welcome to Her Subconscious Blueprint, your no-BS space for subconscious healing, bold breakthroughs, and becoming the woman and man who actually lives the life they dream about. I'm Jenn, hypnotherapist, mindset coach, and your new healing hype girl. Today, I want to talk about something that no one really talks about or warns you about, but nearly every woman and man can experience this right before they attract a secure, healthy, emotional, available partner. And this can be the same with friends. This is one of the moments that if you don't understand what's actually happening, it can make you question everything. Your healing, your growth, your intuition, even your worth. It can make you feel like you imagined your progress, like maybe you were delusional, like maybe you are still attracting the same thing because deep down, maybe nothing has really changed. But if you do understand it, if you can see it clearly for what it is, it becomes one of the most empowering moments of your entire journey. It becomes proof. It becomes confirmation. It becomes the exact moment you realize that you are not who you used to be. I was talking with a few of my girlfriends recently, and the conversation turned into the kind of honesty that you kind of don't really plan for. The kind where someone finally says what everyone else has been quietly thinking. And what came out of this was shared frustration. Not dramatic frustration, not man-hating frustration, just genuine exhaustion. They kept saying, I'm doing the work, I'm aware, I'm trying, so why does it still feel like I'm attracting the same dynamic? And what I saw in their faces, it wasn't weakness. It was just confusion. Because when you're grown, when you've healed and when you've done the inner work, you expect different results. And when something familiar shows up again, it can feel like all of your progress was fake or wasted, or you're ready to just throw it out the window and give up. They kept saying things like, I don't understand why I keep attracting the same kind of man, or I just want something healthy, or why does it always start out feeling so good and then end the exact same way? Different names, different careers, different cities, same emotional experiences. And what really stuck with me wasn't just the frustration. It was the confusion, because these are very intelligent, successful, very self-aware women, women who have done therapy, women who have read the books and journaled, and women who know their attachment style, women who can articulate their triggers, women who have genuinely grown, and yet they keep saying, I just want a secure, emotional, available man. Why does it feel like I keep getting the opposite? And as they were talking, I found myself kind of smiling, not because their pain wasn't real, not because their experience wasn't valid, but because I understood exactly what was happening. And because I know something that most people don't get told, I looked at them and I said, you're not stuck, you're not broken, and you're definitely not going backwards. I said, you're probably closer than you think. And let me tell you why. Because there is something that almost always happens right before love actually shifts. There's this moment that looks like regression, but is actually graduation. There's a pattern that resurfaces right before it dissolves. And no one prepares you for that. Right before your love life truly shifts, right before you meet the man who feels calm instead of chaotic, steady instead of confusing, emotional presence instead of emotional unavailability, you almost always attract someone who represents your old patterns. And I don't mean subtly, I mean clearly, loudly, almost comically obvious. Once you know what you're looking at. Sometimes it's an ex who comes back out of nowhere and says, hey, I've been thinking about you. A text at the exact moment you feel like you have finally detached. Sometimes it is someone new who looks incredible on paper. Stable job, good family, says he wants a relationship, checks all the boxes, but something in your body feels tight. Something feels familiar in a way that is not peaceful. Sometimes it's a man who feels electric, magnetic, intensely attractive. He activates chemistry instantly. You feel that dopamine rush, you feel the spark, but underneath it, your nervous system feels unsettled. You find yourself checking your phone. You find yourself wondering where you stand. You find yourself actually starting to shrink again. He might say the right things. He might show up just enough. He might feel like potential. But underneath it all, he triggers the exact wounds you have been working so hard to heal. And when this happens, most women think, well, I failed. They think, I thought I was healed. They think, why is this happening again? They think that the universe is playing some kind of cruel joke on them. Like, really, after all this work, after all this growth, I keep getting the same thing? But this is not punishment. This is not regression. This is confirmation. When you evolve, your old frequency does not disappear quietly. It does not pack up its bags and leave without saying goodbye. It shows up one last time. It knocks on the door and it asks a question. And the question is simple but powerful. Are you still available for the version of love that hurt you? This is the final exam, the final mirror, the final boss level. And if you've ever played a video game, you know exactly what I mean. You do not reach the final level because you're weak. You reach it because you are ready to level up. Here's something I need you to really, really let sink in. You cannot step into a new future while reacting from an old emotional state. You cannot build a secure relationship while your nervous system is still wired for chaos. And you cannot attract a healthy partner while you're still unconsciously available for inconsistency, ambiguity, or emotional absence. So instead of immediately handing you the new relationship, life hands you a mirror, not to punish you, not to test you in a cruel way, but to confirm who you have become, the version of you that is ready for new. There is neuroscience behind this. Your brain is predictive. It operates based on patterns. You've heard me talk about Dr. Joe Dispenza so many times, and he talks about how your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is made up of your thoughts, your emotional reactions, and your behaviors. And if you keep thinking the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same emotions, you keep wiring the same neural circuits. And those neural circuits become automatic programming. So when you say you want something new, but your nervous system is still addicted to the emotional chemistry of old patterns, there's a mismatch, there's a misalignment. And the brain loves coherence. It wants consistency between beliefs, emotions, and behaviors. This is why change feels so uncomfortable. Because when you interpret an old pattern, you are literally disrupting neural pathways that have been reinforced for years. Your brain does not automatically celebrate it. It initially resists it. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you are available for. And availability is not mental. It is a nervous system base. When you shift internally, when you start healing attachment wounds, when you regulate your nervous system, when you stop abandoning yourself, the old dynamics, they don't just vanish. They come back to see if they still have access to you. Attachment theory explains this beautifully. If you have had anxious attachment patterns, you may have been drawn to avoidant partners. That push and pull dynamic creates a dopamine and a cortisol loop in the brain. The unpredictability, it actually strengthens the attachment because the intermittent reinforcement is one of the most powerful conditioning tools. It is the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. You never know when the reward is coming, so you keep playing. So when a man is inconsistent, when he gives you just enough attention and then withdraws and takes it away, your brain does not interpret that as danger immediately. It interprets it as a potential reward. And that chemical cocktail can feel like chemistry. But chemistry without safety is just trauma bonding. When you begin healing, you are rewiring the pattern. You're teaching your nervous system that love does not have to feel like chaos and chasing. It does not have to feel like guessing. It does not have to feel like proving your worth. And right before the secure pattern arrives, your system is often given one more opportunity to choose the old pattern spikes of the new regulated baseline. Old you chases clarity. Old you needs reassurance. Old you tried to prove your worth. Old you waited, hoped, overgave, explained away the red flags over and over again, and over-explained, told herself to be patient, told herself he just needed time. But the new you listens to consistency. New you watches behavior, not words. New you notices how your body feels around someone. And the new you does not need to convince herself to stay, to shrink, to self-sacrifice what she really wants. The old you felt chemistry and it mistook it for compatibility. But new you understands that compatibility feels peaceful and safe. Old you stayed longer than you should have. New you feels the discomfort and still walks away. And this is where healing becomes real. Not when you journal about boundaries, not when you visualize healthy love, but when you are standing face to face with the old dynamic and you choose yourself anyway. Healing is not about what you attract. Healing is about what you tolerate. It is about what you excuse, what you rationalize, what you shrink for, what you abandon yourself for. Your nervous system craves familiarity. And if you grew up in an emotional, unpredictable inconsistency, criticism, or subtle abandonment, calm can initially feel pretty boring. Stable can feel flat. Safety can feel unfamiliar. There are studies in neuroscience that show how the brain's amygdala becomes hyper attuned to familiar stress patterns. Even if those patterns are unhealthy, they're predictable, and predictability equals perceived safety to the brain. So when someone shows up who activates your old wounds, it is not because you are broken. It is because your body is checking in. It is asking, is this still home? And this is where you get to answer differently. This is where subconscious reprogramming becomes embodied. Because subconscious work is not just affirmations. It's not just visualizing a future partner. It is interpreting the old reactions in real time. It is feeling the urge to text him for clarity and choosing not to. It is noticing mixed signals and not talking yourself out of them. It is walking away from potential because your peace matters more than possibility. Every time you do that, you fire and wire a new neural pathway. You reinforce self-trust. You teach your nervous system that abandonment of self is no longer the price of connection. And energetically, this matters because manifestation is not magic. It is coherence. When your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors all align with the identity of the woman who is secure, the woman who values herself, who does not negotiate with inconsistency, you become a match for secure love. Secure love does not feel like anxiety. It does not feel like guessing. It does not feel like analyzing tone or decoding text. It feels calm, it feels steady, and it feels safe. And sometimes, if you are not used to that, it can feel almost overwhelming at first. And it's not because it's wrong, but because your body is recalibrating. This is why the old patterns often show up one last time to show you the contrast, to show you how far you've come, to show you what you are no longer available for. So if you are in this moment right now, if someone has just shown up who looks good on paper, but feels wrong in your body, if an ex has resurfaced, if you are feeling tempted, confused, disappointed, or nostalgic, I just want you to pause and ask yourself honestly, am I being invited to repeat or am I being invited to respond differently. Because the moment you respond differently, the moment you do not abandon yourself, and the moment you honor your growth, even when it's uncomfortable, the chapter closes. And what opens next does not require effort. It does not require chasing, and it does not require convincing. It feels safe. And I know safety can feel scary when you have never done it before. But safety is where love actually grows. Safety is where intimacy deepens. Safety is where you stop performing and start resting. You're not attracting the wrong men because you are broken. You are attracting reflections that are asking, who are you now? Are you ready to choose different? And when your answer is different, your life becomes different. And I am so full of love and gratitude that I get to share my story with you. This is her subconscious blueprint, where we don't just chase the dreams, we become them. And remember, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. So go out and be that version today. Much love and gratitude. I will see you next time.